The last thing I expected when I woke up in the derelict outpost was that I would be running out of time. Every second felt heavier than the last, as if the walls themselves were pressing down, suffocating me. My name is Lyra, a scout from the planet Kylara, and I had been stranded on this remote human outpost for hours, wounded and trapped, with no means of escape. The last skirmish had left me broken, bleeding from my side, my energy shield down, my comms offline. The humans were supposed to be enemies, predators disguised as peacekeepers, but none of them had appeared yet. I was alone, save for the hum of the failing power systems and the distant sound of machinery. Then came the voice. Calm, steady, human. "Hold on," he said, stepping into my line of sight. I froze. His uniform was marked with insignias I had studied in the intelligence reports. Lieutenant Kieran Dax, one of the most decorated human soldiers in the Orion sector. He should have been my executioner, or worse, indifferent to my fate. Instead, he extended his hand. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said. "I'm here to help. But we have to move, now." Beginning, desperation. I wanted to scream, to run, to fight. My instincts told me to distrust him. Humans were unpredictable. They could betray as easily as they could ally. But as I studied his expression, I saw something that no other human had ever shown me: focus, calm, determination, and, most importantly, empathy. "Why?" I croaked. My voice was hoarse from dehydration and fear. "Because it's the right thing," he said simply. "I can't leave you here. You won't survive alone, and I won't let that happen." I swallowed my pride and allowed myself to be helped to my feet. My leg was weak, my side throbbed with pain, and every movement sent jolts of agony through my torso. Yet, as his hands supported me, the strange warmth of his touch made me feel safe. A concept foreign to me, but welcome nonetheless. The outpost's lights flickered, shadows stretching across the walls like predators. Somewhere deep in the complex, I heard the faint crackle of energy weapons. The rogue faction humans had arrived. My heart raced. The countdown had begun. The impossible task. We moved quickly, navigating the maze-like corridors. He carried a small medkit, and every step I took was supported by his steadying presence. "We're almost to the evacuation bay," he said. "But we have a problem. The main doors are jammed. I'll have to override the system manually." I shook my head. "That's impossible. The override panel is heavily secured: traps, locks, automated defenses. Only someone with clearance could." My words trailed off as he gave me a half-smile. "Impossible doesn't exist if we're desperate enough," he said. He paused at the door, assessing the system. Sparks flew from the damaged panel, alarms blaring in the distance. My breathing grew shallow as I realized just how risky this was. If he failed, both of us could die in a heartbeat. Yet, there was no hesitation in his movements, no sign of fear. "Step back," he instructed. His hands flew over the console, his fingers dancing across keys, override codes, and makeshift patches. I watched in disbelief as he bypassed security protocols that would have taken months to break under normal circumstances. Time was slipping away. Every second brought the sound of approaching enemies closer, echoing through the metal corridors. I couldn't imagine a human moving so quickly, so efficiently, without training that went beyond normal soldiering. He was doing the impossible, and I was witnessing it firsthand. The turning point. Just as the last lock clicked open, a warning siren blared. The rogue faction had discovered us. They were entering the corridor behind us, weapons raised. "Move," he shouted, grabbing my arm and pulling me through the partially opened doors. The blast doors began to close, but one of the soldiers fired, hitting the panel, causing sparks and smoke. My body froze, not from fear, but from the realization that our escape could be cut off at any second. Go. Go, he yelled, pushing me forward while he stayed back, covering my retreat. Bullets pinged off the walls, one grazing his shoulder. He didn't falter. I couldn't understand how someone could remain so calm while risking everything for another being, let alone a stranger like me. I scrambled into the shuttle bay, coughing from the smoke. He followed, limping slightly but still moving with determination. The shuttle's door slid open, and I leapt inside, collapsing into the seat. He was right behind me, sealing the door just as the blast doors behind us slammed shut. The shuttle shuddered violently as it lifted from the bay. Alarms blared, energy shields flared, and I pressed my hand to my chest, still unable to fully comprehend what had just happened. He sank into the seat beside me, bruised but alive. "You okay?" he asked, his voice calm, almost gentle. I nodded slowly. Words failed me. I had been desperate, terrified, certain that my end was near. Yet here he was, alive, unbroken, having done the impossible to save me. Building trust. As we flew through space, I finally allowed myself to relax. For the first time in my life, I felt the absence of fear, not completely, but enough to breathe. I studied him. Lieutenant Kieran Dax, human, soldier, savior. "You didn't have to do that," I said finally, my voice low. "I did," he replied. "No one deserves to be left behind, no matter their species. You were desperate. I couldn't just watch." I realized then that trust wasn't given lightly. It was earned through action, courage, and empathy. He had earned mine in a matter of minutes, by acting when most would have hesitated, by risking everything for someone he barely knew. I wanted to ask him how he could do it, why he had such courage, but words seemed unnecessary. The silence between us was comfortable, filled with understanding and shared relief. The final challenge. Our relief was short-lived. Sensors pinged on the shuttle's console. Another rogue faction patrol was in pursuit. He had to land us on a nearby neutral station, far enough to evade detection. "This is going to be tricky," he muttered, fingers flying over controls. "We'll need to navigate through the asteroid belt. It's the only route that keeps us out of sensor range." I leaned over, helping when I could. My species had superior spatial awareness, and he allowed me to guide some of the maneuvers. Together, we threaded the shuttle through jagged rocks, dodging debris and avoiding automated turrets. Every second was a test of precision, coordination, and nerves. Finally, we emerged unscathed near the station. Relief washed over me. Against every expectation, against all odds, we had survived. Resolution, a bond forged. The shuttle docked, and we disembarked into the station's artificial gravity. I felt the ache in my muscles, the sting of wounds, and the exhaustion of fear, but also a deep sense of gratitude. "You did the impossible," I said quietly. He shrugged, though a small smile tugged at his lips. "I did what had to be done. You were desperate. I couldn't let that be your last moment." I realized then that desperation had brought us together, but courage had forged a bond far stronger than fear. For centuries, my species had been taught to distrust humans, to see them as predators or obstacles. Yet here was proof that compassion, bravery, and honor existed even among those we least expected. He glanced at me, his eyes searching mine. "We make a good team," he said softly. "Yes," I replied. "Against all odds." And in that moment, I knew that our meeting had changed both of us, not just in survival, but in perspective, in understanding, and in the recognition that even in a galaxy full of chaos, kindness and courage could still make the impossible possible. Epilogue. Weeks later, I returned to my people, bearing stories of the human who had saved me when all hope seemed lost. Lieutenant Kieran Dax remained in my thoughts, not as an enemy, not even as an ally in the traditional sense, but as someone who had redefined what it meant to act with courage and compassion. Desperation had brought me to the brink. His actions had lifted me from it. And in that singular act, I realized something profound. Sometimes, the impossible is simply a choice away.